To use the PRC-119 from ACRE in Arma 3 Beta. So first things first, make sure everything is running as administrator, your TeamSpeak, your Arma 3, and your Steam. If everything's set up correctly, you should boot up right into a multiplayer game, and your radios should be there, or you can go to editor like I'm about to do, and add an ACRE box, and configure with some of the radios. So I'm going to go ahead and wait for that to load up. Little thing, the 119 is a radio that is used generally for longer range. If you've messed around with ACRE, you've probably noticed that there's a default radio that you have. It's called the PRC-343. That is like a small handheld walkie-talkie almost. You're not really going to be using that to try to talk to Cass or something. It's just not realistic. The range isn't strong enough. So when you're presented with a situation like that, you're going to be using a much more powerful radio. And in this case, it is the 119. And it actually has a range of about 5 miles. So putting it into terms for Arma, they use metric system. That would be in Arma, it would have a range of about 8.05 kilometers, which is about 8 of these big blocks right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If we really wanted to, one person can be at the end, one person can be at zeros, and the other one at the Spartan landing point, and you could hear each other. Just gives you a quick reference of how long it operates. Alright, so go ahead and pull out the PRC-119. Change to that radio. Press Alt, Shift, and 2. On the bottom it should say PRC-119 transmitting. Now go ahead and open that up by pressing Control Shift X. Alright, now there's plenty of buttons, acronyms, and numbers that you're probably very confused about, and I'm going to help you with that. First things first, there are a couple things that are not applicable to this tutorial because they will not be used or utilized at all. It is ANT, which is antenna, RXMT, which is used for a retransmission system, or filler data, which is used for programming the data. The things that will be used, this keypad, ComSec, volume, functions, squelch, modes, and power, and I will run you through all those. Power, you're presented with 4 different settings: low, medium, high, and PA. PA is power amp. This is something that will also not be used because it requires an amp system where you plug it in, so you can't do that in Arma. So low would be used generally for being in close range with somebody, close proximity. Medium is a little bit further than that. I can't give you specific numbers because I haven't tested it in the game, but high would be for maximum range, for maximum communication transmission. So gauge wherever, how far the person that you want to talk to, and make your best guess onto which one you want. Of course, you're not going to use high for being 20 meters apart, or low for being 3 clicks out. So just use your best judgment. We also have channels. We have channels 1 through 6. As you can see, they are pre-programmed. That would be the quickest way, honestly, to communicate with your members instead of messing with the many channels and trying to reprogram and trying to um, set up shop somewhere else, so to speak. Uh, that's pretty much what there is to this. This is just to change your channels. You also have modes. You have SC, FH, FHM. SC is single channel. FH is frequency hop. FHM is frequency hop master. SC is generally used for unencrypted communication. Um, it ties back into communication security over here, which I will reference back to modes because they work together, they synchronously. FH, frequency hop, it's generally used on a higher frequency, and it's similar to the frequency hop master, which means our frequency hop master is actually used for like headquarters and for commanders, for people who are reporting in. It diverts all of their communications to him, to the guy who is in charge. Um, Down here we have functions. We have off, Z, frequency hop, REM, RXMT, squelch, we have on and off, and for the other functions we have standby, test, and LD, which is load. Squelch, if you've ever had two walkie-talkies, you get really far away and you hear these little scratching, squeaking noises. Squelch is used to prevent that from happening. It kind of cuts it out completely. If there's not a high enough signal output, it will not try to communicate with it at all. So it will not get that interference sound. So keep it on. Down here we have LD load. That is loading the information that you need to input for the radio. So for instance, if you wanted to be on single channel, you would click single channel, load, and ComSec. And we have LD, which is load, and all that is just loading the input data into the radio. So whatever you put in here, you just make sure you're on load, and that stuff will go in. TST, test, just testing the radio to make sure that it operates correctly. STBY, standby. Standby is going to be used mostly when you don't need your radio for a certain period of time, and so you just put it on standby and all your information will be saved. It's kind of like sleep mode for a computer. That's the best metaphor. We have RXMT, which is, as I said down here, it's used for a retransmission system, and you cannot use that in Arma, so don't worry about it. REM falls into that boat. ZFH, there's a term that they use. It's called Z'd out or Zing out your radio, and that just kind of clears it. So this is the Z frequency hop, and you would just be using that to clear it out. And of course we have off, which is just setting it off completely. ComSec, another really important function. We have PT, CT, TD, RV, and Z. PT is called plain text, and that is, in essence, that is no encryption through your radio transmissions. So when you're on single channel is used for plain text. You wouldn't be using CT, TD, RV, or Z, and I'll get to those too. But plain text, keep this in mind, plain text is used for single channel. We have CT, which is cybertext, and that is an encryption. That's a type of method to make sure that the data isn't stolen or they're not being listened to on. So we switch to frequency hop. and we have CT. Now, this is another one where it's a specific. Frequency hop is only used with CT, cybertext. So don't do single channel and try to do cybertext, or that's going to get a little weird. So frequency hop, cybertext, plain text, single channel. TD and RV, not too sure about those, so we won't mess with them. What I gave you about CT and PT, SC and FH, those are generally the ones that you use the most, so don't worry about TD, RV for now. Z, as we know, that's clearing out the information in the stream, the telemetry. So that pretty much covers up the communication security. We also have volume down here, the volume knob. Just set it to whatever you feel like, whatever accompanies your likeness, and there you go. It's plain and simple. Here, one of the most important little aspects of the radio itself is the Numpad. You can see that from here you can set different frequencies. You can fine tune it instead of using these preset ones. So for instance, you can click frequency, click 9, 6, 625, or let's change that, 98752, and you click clear to erase that. So let's go ahead and enter something like that again. But once you have whatever frequency that you want, just make sure you load it, and that's going to be used with these other functions. You got to make sure that you use the right functions and the right communications. We have a couple other things that I don't think is fully usable, but frequency, ERF off OFST, which is just offsetting. That's used to counter jamming, but you can't do that in Arma, so don't worry about that. CTO and clear is pretty much clearing this top line. You can see. Changing, syncing. It's self-explanatory, but those aren't things that are used in Arma, so don't worry about these secondary functions for now. That'll be something that, if possible, I'll make another video about. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. I mean, it's something for you to test out with your other members, make sure it works for you as yourself, because I know it works for me, but it's something that you need to see someone else do and that you need to do hands-on, and that's what I'm here for. I'm trying to teach you how to do this. So go ahead and mess with it, have fun, and do whatever.